I did not want to show that expression. Alright, so something happened to the first clip. It has my whole face. I mean, I don't mind showing my face in videos, but I mean, I'm not showing the video. I'm not showing my face right now. We're just talking about online right now. So this is the last part I'm doing today, part 95. So part 96 will be coming tomorrow. So yeah, ashes and lessons for Hiroshima opinionaire. Pardon me. Read each a statement below and indicate whether you agree or disagree. D. Write your reason for your opinion as well as support your with facts from the article. Have the ashes for Hiroshima taught the world anything? Or from class notes. Please respond with 4 complete sentences minimum. Here's a link for the article. Have they taught the world anything? After the responding of statements, create the 2 of your own statements about the article and support with your facts or further reading or class. The devastation created by dropping atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki it will continue to deter worrying nations for using them again. The devastation could have been right because they both have been released more strength to work on proper time or weapons if they are right to use for purposes in case of requisite time or frequently. I put agree on this. I put D in there. Japan is a ticking time bomb of the hostility. It mostly concludes by games, just waiting for the right time to unleash their forces on the world again at any moment. Your reason, Japan couldn't just be the time bomb whatever it wants to because it's obviously over with the bombing thing that is like literally onto its grounds and personal time for serious bombs around Japan. I put A. Japan cannot arm itself with nuclear weapons, but needs to use nuclear energy and rely on U.S. nuclear security guarantees. Quote for the reading, Japan cannot arm itself with a lot of nuclear weapons because they need more energy to keep up with materials. The weapons can be cheaper than its other purposes. I put disagree on this. If Japan had weapons for a mass destruction available to them, they would be too tempted to use them under very certain circumstances. Just because Japan has weapons doesn't mean you can attack them. They're trying to get you to use them for the enemies to trying to get to fight back in case something happens, and they can't just be too tempted without any fight backs for enemies. Write down 2 own statements with supported facts about the article. Have the ashes of the Hiroshima taught the world anything? They taught the people to be more tough on every technique they have about World War One or Two, to stay with and stay homes during the danger zone. They helped a lot of for the building that back they used it, but they tried to any sort of mandatory of their own world. A full creature again is possible. So that's what you should learn about the ashes in lessons. I don't know if your teachers taught you this. They probably did. World War II Homefront. I'm going to read my responses. Just like it says, please do not type your answers into the activity itself. The answers don't always stay in the sheet. They always get lost in cyberspace. Please write all of your answers on this worksheet. Mr. Kuhn did not even read this. Many sacrifices were used in many ways for armies to challenge the process. The government relates to items of new good changes to ration of books that contain health processes. It is confident for the confinement a large group of people. What events led to the creation of the U.S.? The Revolutionary War. The Japanese Americans and their ancestry. Describe some ways that American families may have made like sacrifices on a daily basis during World War II. Give something up and sell something good. Give out unused items that you could sell. offer more toys and unused items in the sale. Meeting individuals. Her girlfriend and she pulls their gas stations or gas rations and pile in one car. That was at that gas station that she was in. Just like this. You guys know this. They were lucky about escaping London, England, before living the conditions like this before that. They were trying to develop a weapon powerful enough to end this war. He wants people to more income to be taxed at a higher rate. Well, for most people, for the ones who own the factories and stores, it makes more money on the war. What are the living conditions like for Susan in a relocation camp? Give specific examples about food, shelter, clothing, or schooling. They were legumes, air raid shelter, garments, and training universities actually scarce everywhere. You have to understand everywhere you understand for details could be intervened. Issue you chose right here. I agree with Susan because she was saying about the conditions were much poorer than those in people dealing with rationing. Could be the part of individuals comparing for sequences. It's just like exploring some perspectives. We have Jane, Aaron, Ralph, and Susan. Okay, so Jane, yes, I understood that these goods had to be conserved for industry and the military, so the convention could be immediate level for some other countries out there. No. Aaron, yes. I knew people that are in other countries were suffering even more than Americans were. I thought of myself thinking about what other countries needed to improve on rational goods, which were provided by revolution. No. Ralph, neutral. I worked on a factory that made machines used in the war that was frequently happening. I thought of myself rationing gas made it more difficult for me to absorb my appearance. Yes. Susan, neutral. The living conditions could be at least some changes could be intervened, but the rationing conference on her opinion is mostly likely for me to agree. Because she was telling about the distance with poor had been explained for people. What do you guys think? I agree with Susan, but what do you guys agree with? For me, I agree with Susan. What do you guys agree with? Let me know in the comments. Lend-Lease. Made by Quinn Simpson, Arsenal Democracy. In 1940, President Franklin D. Roosevelt, or Roosevelt. My friends, this is not a fireside chat on war. It is a talk on national security, because the nub of the whole purpose of your president is to keep you now, and your children earlier, and your grandchildren much later out of the war. The Nazi masters of Germany have made it clear that they intend not to only dominate all life and fought in their own country, also to enslave the whole of Europe, and then to use the resources in Europe to dominate the rest of the world. Some of our people like to believe this that wars of Europe and the Asia are no concerns to us, but it is a matter of most vital concern to us that European Asiatic war makers should not gain control of the oceans, which led to the hemisphere. If Great Britain goes down, the Axis power will control the continents of Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia, and the high seas. They will be in a position to bring enormous military and naval attacks against the hemisphere. It is no exaggeration to say that all of us, and all of the Americans will be living at the point of the gun, a gun loaded with explosive bullets, economic as well as military. But British people and their allies today are conducting an active war against Germany. Our own future security is dependent on the outcome of that fight. Our ability to keep out of the war is going to be affected by whatever or not British to let British win. Thinking of terms today and tomorrow, I made a direct statement to the American people that there is a far less chance of the United States getting into the war. If we do all now, we can support the nations of defending themselves to against attack. The people of Europe who are defending themselves and do not ask us to do their fighting, they ask us for implements of the war, their planes, their tanks, their guns, and their fighters, which will enable them to fight to their liberty in their society, or security, I should say. Emphatically, we must get these weapons to them and get them to them to sufficient volume and quickly enough so that we and our children will be saved the agony and suffering of the war which others have had to endure. Democracy's fight against world conquest is being greatly aided and must be more greatly aided by the rearmament of the United States and by sending every ounce of every ton of munitions and supplies that we can possibly spare to help the defenders who are in front of lines. We must be the great arsenal of democracy for us in this emergency, as a series of war itself. We must apply ourselves to task with the same resolution, the same sense of urgency, the same spirit of patriotism, and sacrifice as we would show we were at the war. We have furnished the British great material and support. We will furnish far more in the future. In paragraphs 2 and 3, Roosevelt explains why the United States needs to help Great Britain in their own words. What is one of his reasons? He probably wants people to be calm, and no matter what, Prince have the great sense of the phrase that matters to the war is completely out of control, and obviously made it successful for some people to challenge them to a harder zone. He probably wants to release themselves into danger. Is what is on the case for war that has happened, completely made for a long time ago, and to use words that are renaissance or challenges that could happen to take place whatsoever. He wants to succeed people in what is actually happening to dangerous crime they have talked about in the past years, or days in the generalization zone. Copy a quote from a text that supports like what you wrote above. The president and all people have a lot of sense for the phrase Great Britain program, case of wars. In paragraph 4, Roosevelt outlines what he thinks will happen if Great Britain is defeated. In your own words, what is he worried will happen? He's worried about the whole Great Britain is going to be removed by killing a lot of people who have done it many crimes, or maybe even the whole town gone into chaos in the right place. It can be the first one, so it can be about a second approach to those generalizations. Copy the quote that from a text that supports that what you wrote above. Approaching generalizations, the whole town goes into chaos. In paragraph 7 for A, Roosevelt explains what he thinks the United States should do. The United States should be able to stand up for people who are revolting in a situation in what that was in the past year, or the new year could be even worse than every people that may be imagined of what was going to happen in the future that they told him. Stay strong wherever you are. Don't panic. It's a reminder of the conduct. Copy of the quote for the text that supports what you wrote above. Reminder of conduct. What can happen in the future? In arsenal is a big supply of weapons. In paragraph 9, Roosevelt says the United States should be the arsenal of democracy. In your own words, because the purpose is automatically challenging for him to discover what some countries led on to this war to happen immediately after news spotted the war that was taking place in the other assignments that we talk about. The United States that was such in danger after this war started the past year. That's an awful experience that people have to live like this in generalizations. Passive and eyes pastors of Germany that was dominating federal purposes of the war that people have the right to stand up to reporters to stop the war from preventing life. Why was the United States called the Arsenal of Democracy in 1940? The leaders of the democratic nations of Europe that were educated in the United States or educated in the United States. The American Homefront that has my answer keys. Okay, so somebody's gonna be reading it for me. So yeah, let's pull up here. I don't know how long I'm recording for, but it does not show on this session, but I'm getting used to it now.
The American Homefront during World War II. Quinn. Document number 1. New roles for women during World War II. With so many men fighting overseas, the demand for women workers rose sharply. In
We can do
1940, before the United States get involved in World War II, about 14 million women worked about 25% of the nation's labor force. By 1945, that number had climbed to more than 19 million, roughly 30% of the nation's labor force. Women worked in munitions factories, shipyards, and offices. Much of the nation welcomed the growing numbers of women into the workplace. The country promoted Rosie the Riveter, an image of a strong woman hard at work at an arms factory, as its cherished symbol for its new group of wage earners. Document 1 questions. 1. Why was there a sharp increase in the number of women in the workforce in 1945? Men were fighting overseas World War II. 2. What types of jobs did women have during World War II? All of
I
the
already read
women
them
joined the
both.
military. 3. Who was Rosie the Riveter? The iconic poster of a female theory classic factory worker. 4. Looking at the picture above, describe what type of woman Rosie the Riveter seems to be. She seems to be strong and flexible. 5. In your own words,
Yeah.
describe the image that the song lyrics paint about Rosie the Riveter. You can do your own thing and do the right thing and express your feelings together. Document number 2, the War Production Board, WPB. The effort to defeat the Axis powers took more than just soldiers. American forces needed planes, tanks, weapons, parachutes, and other supplies. Under the guidance of the War Production Board, factories churned out materials around the clock. By 1945, the country had built about 300,000 aircraft and 75,000 ships. The United States was producing 60% of the Allied ammunition. The War Production Board put up posters expressing the urgency of the war on the factory floor. Tacked up on bulletin boards, next to time clocks, on factory walls, and in break rooms, posters such as the one that follows served as constant reminders of the war and the need to increase production. Slogans such as "Every minute counts" were posted, as well as instructions for effectiveness. Document 2 questions. 1. What was the WPB? It was an agency for all supporters for production for many worth of money. 2. What was its purpose? Given supreme and strong authority to overseas productions. 3. How did the WPB encourage workers to produce more goods? They put propaganda posters on factory walls so people can donate. Document number 3, rationing. Because the armed forces needed so many materials, some of the items Americans took for granted became scarce.
Don't waste it.
For example, American automakers did not produce any cars between 1942 and 1945. Instead, they built tanks, jeeps, and airplanes. Items such as gasoline, tires, shoes, meat, and sugar were also in short supply. To divide these scarce goods among its citizens, the government established a system of rationing. Under this system, families received a fixed amount of a certain item. Document 3 questions. 1. What is the system of rationing? It is a controlled substance of resources that can be explained for rationing. 2. Why was rationing necessary? Because resources could be put in categories by food and gas.
Okay, I don't know why it stopped. What is a system rationing? It is a controlled substance of resources that can be explained through rationing. Why was rationing necessary? Because resources could be put in categories by food or gas. What types of goods were rationed by during World War II? It fits food categories by household with dried fruits and jams. Plant a victory garden. Our food is fighting. Our garden will make tour rations go fundamentals. Victory gardens. Why? What was a victory garden? The Warden goods of defense of many cities, propose and many rations of they offer. Why did people want to grow them during World War II? They wanted more individuals to grow more plants in the future. About how much of a nation's vegetables were produced by victory gardens? 40%. How did the government encourage people to grow these gardens? It helps by saving soldiers for starvation if they need to fight the war. Document 5. New roles and minorities during World War II. United we win. Definitely, man. How did minorities' role change during World War II? They were served by other ways by presenting the ethnic improvements. Name three minority groups of who aided in the war effort during World War II. Hispanic Americans, Chinese Americans, and Jewish Americans. How are these minority groups treated? They were capable of releasing matters of their choice. Internment camps. Question 6. What are the internment camps? Why were Japanese Americans forced to live in these camps? It was forced relocation place which is related to racial experiences. Order Nizai. It is a Japanese language term that people use for other compliments. What were conditions like at these camps? They seemed to be truthful and confident about exploring their camps. Why did some people believe that internment camps were unconstitutional? It was some exclusion order that was released at that time. Alright, so tomorrow I'll be uploading the part 96 if I have time. Maybe or not. I don't know if I have time or not, but tomorrow probably uploading like a Snapchat filter or something. But if you guys have questions, let me know, and see you guys later.